What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Wednesday, July 27th. My name is Ewan, and today we will be talking about some MLB DFS on the DraftKings website. Just as a heads up, this will be talking about the contest that begins at 2:40 p.m. Eastern. That's got 7 games in it. There's another one at night that starts at 6:40 that has 4 games. I'm not going to be talking about those ones. So just the 7 games here. The schedule is Angels at Royals. We've got Jansen Junk versus Brad Keller. Twins at Brewers with Chris Archer and Corbin Burnes going head-to-head. Nationals and Dodgers continue their series as Patrick Corbin and Andrew Heaney face off in a battle of the lefties. Chicago White Sox visit Colorado in the Mile High City as Lucas Giolito and Antonio Senzatella do battle. Astros look to avoid a 3-game sweep at Oakland as Christian Javier and Cole Irvin face off on the mound. And then Logan Webb and Zach Gallen battle as the Giants and Diamondbacks do a NL West showdown. And finally, we've got John Gray versus Marco Gonzalez as the Rangers play in Seattle. So right off the bat, there's some pretty good pitchers to look at here. We've obviously got a Coors game. The Astros are a pretty good lineup. Lots of options to go here, but I will mostly be talking about pitchers today and then giving some a couple of value bats at the end, and then some stacks with the implied runs leaders for the day. So we're just going to go top to bottom here with pitchers, go through some of the aces, and then some others receiving looks. So Corbin Burnes right off the top here, 10,100 on DraftKings. On the season, he's got a 2.20 ERA, 0.93 whip, and 149 strikeouts in 118.2 innings. He is continuing his dominant 2021 when he won the NL Cy Young. So far, he's averaging 24.5 DraftKings points per game because he's just that good. I mean, 25.4% K to minus walk ratio and a 16.3% swinging strike rate. Minnesota's been pretty good against right-handers so far since June 1st, but I think Burnes has the ability to overpower them today. Since June 1st, like I was saying, Minnesota has a 264, 327, 458 slash line and a 121 WRC plus, which means they are 21% better than league average against right-handed pitchers. Burnes' 32.1% strikeout rate is only second on the slate today to someone that we will talk about a little bit later. But I don't think you can go wrong with him. It is expensive at $10,000, but with the other options on here, I like to pair him with almost anyone under $9,000 today. And I think that is going to be a great start to your DraftKings lineup to get that anchor. Next up, we've got Andrew Heaney, who seems to be getting a little bit of a Dodgers bump and a little bit of a facing the Nationals bump. He has been good in his 3 starts this year, but that's all he's got. At $9,800, I don't think I'm going to touch him today. Even against Washington, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said that Heaney could be limited to as little as 75 pitches. This is his first start since June 19th and only his 4th start of the season. I don't think you can go there in cash games, but I guess if you want to get real frisky in a tournament and just hope that Heaney can strike out a bunch of Nationals in 4 or 5 innings, then go for it. I mean, it's DFS. No pitcher is really a bad option when it comes to those massive GPPs. You can always, if you a multi-lineup kind of guy, you can definitely construct one with Heaney in there. Next up, we've got Logan Webb, $9,400 going against the Giants. He had a tough game against the Dodgers coming out of the All-Star break, but he limited them to 1 earned run, but gave up 4 walks, only racked up 10 DraftKings points. So We would like to see more, but he is facing Arizona, not Los Angeles this time. He has already seen them this season and came away with 29.3 DraftKings points, which was his fourth highest score of the season. Webb really gets it done via the ground ball. Sometimes he can rack up the Ks, but a 56.7% ground ball rate is really the key to his arsenal. In his last 5 games, he's got at least 9 ground ball outs in every single one of them. And Arizona, just not that tough of a offense right now. They are slashing 219, 299, 367 slugging versus right-handed pitchers since June 1st. Definitely doesn't have the strikeout upside of Burns, but probably safer than Heaney for sure. Probably going to go deeper into games. So I would, if it's between Heaney and Webb, if you're trying to just go double-barreled aces here, Webb would definitely be my choice over Heaney. Next up, we've got John Gray going against Seattle. Seattle's definitely not that matchup that we've spent so long thinking that Seattle is a easy matchup. It's been years and years and seasons, but they are definitely not as easy as they once were, as they are battling for a spot in the AL wildcard after a 14-game win streak going into the All-Star break. But John Gray himself is on quite a tear over his last 8 starts. He's got a 1.81 ERA, 0.95 whip, and 58 strikeouts over 49 and 2/3 innings. Everything's going great for the former Rockies number 3 pick in the draft, I believe. The strikeouts are up to 29.9% strikeout rate. The walks are down. He's got a 2.85 Sierra to back up that 1.81 ERA. He's got at least 7 Ks in 4 of his last 5 starts. And while Seattle is a much better offense, their 105 WRC plus just says they're barely above league average against right-handed pitchers. I think Gray's probably going to go a little, he's going to be on less rosters than he should be today because he is throwing some of the best baseball of his career in a Rangers uniform. But he I think a lot of people will be anchored to John Gray 9,000. Like, no thank you. Like, he was pretty bad at the beginning of the year, so I think the mental aspect of getting over $9,000 being next to John Gray's name is going to be slightly tough for some DF managers to overcome. So maybe you can take advantage there against the Mariners on the road. Next up, this is probably my favorite pitcher on the slate. A little bit biased because he's pitching for my favorite team, but Christian Javier at 8,700 feels really light for what he can do on the mound over the last 5 games. He's got 47 strikeouts in 27 and 2/3 innings, 3 double-digit strikeout performances, 1 against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium and 2 against the Angels over that stretch. He's also got a 3.25 ERA, 0.83 whip, and a eye-popping 44% strikeout rate. That is just obscene numbers. The walks are up a bit, so that's what's kind of led to the 3.25 ERA. Like, you would think 0.83 whip, 47 strikeouts in 27 innings, like, that's phenomenal. But he has had a little bit of a walking problem recently with 10 walks in his last 3 starts. So if he can limit those, he can just be lights out. I mean, he gave up 3 walks to the Angels in Anaheim and still struck out 10. But the last time he, in the 2 starts before that against the Yankees, he gave up 1 walk, had 13 strikeouts, and then against the Angels, he gave up 0 walks and had 14 strikeouts. So if Javier can keep it clean tonight, he is this afternoon, he is in line for a massive day, especially against this Oakland team who has surprisingly taken the first 2 games of this series against Houston, but they do have a 23% strikeout rate to right-handed pitchers with a 139 ISO, 272 WOBA, and just a team-wide 620 OPS versus right-handed pitchers. So those are the top 5 pitchers or 5 pitchers on today's slate. So how would I rank them? Honestly, I would have Corbin Burnes number 1 far and away, quite easily, even though he is the most expensive at $10,100. Next up would be Javier, just because that $8,700 price tag feels pretty light for just how many strikeouts he can get you. Like if you have Burnes and Javier, you probably have the 2 highest strikeout totals on the slate here. Next up would be John Gray. I'm going to buy into this 8 starts a bit, going against Seattle. Just he's got some of the strikeout upside that you would prefer to chase on DraftKings. Just no quality start bonus like you get on FanDuel. And since we're just talking about DraftKings today, John Gray gets a bump over Logan Webb here. He can go super deep into games, very good skill to have, but the lack of strikeouts that he produces is a little bit worrying, and with Gray being $400 less, you can just spread that around your team a little bit easier. And then last is Heaney at $9,800. These rankings would probably be the same for cash games and tournaments for me, just based on safety. Other pitchers that we can look at a tiny bit today, Zach Gallen, $8,100. I think he would be a good tournament play, just going against the grain with Logan Webb, likely to be a popular pick as people try to just go against the Diamondbacks. But he had 7 strikeouts in his last start, racked up 32.6 DraftKings points, and he also, the last time he faced San Francisco, he gave us 16.8 DraftKings points on July 13th. So don't really mind there. It's a tournament-only play for me with Zach Gallen. Cole Irvin, $7,700. I'm literally cringing as I say that name, going against the Astros. A lefty against the Astros could spell very bad news. He's probably the least sexy pick among all of the pitchers priced $7,500 or above, possibly on the entire slate. However, he's seen Houston 3 times this season, and he has magically held them to 4 earned runs over 17 2/3 innings. He only averages 13.9 DraftKings points per game in those starts, but seems to have a little bit of magic versus Houston. So if you're trying to save some money here and go a little crazy contrarian, Cole Irvin, you could probably do a lot worse than him. And then Lucas Giolito at $7,500 is just like, I want to go against Coors, but he is a no thanks for me right now, as I just can't trust him. He's got gave up 6 earned runs in his last start against the Guardians, and then 5 earned runs 3 starts ago against the Tigers. So that kind of does it for pitching there. Going over to some value bats. At catcher, we've got Martin Maldonado. I have a weird affinity for just plugging Maldonado into my lineups whenever I'm making DFS lineups. Just $3,000, just being a part of the Astros lineup that can be so dangerous on any given night is super tempting. Obviously, he's been at like 2,500. If the slate was a little bit bigger, he'd probably be below 3,000. But he does have 8 RBIs in his last 6 games. Total boomer bust play. He has hit a couple of home runs in this stretch. I don't know, $3,000 for a catcher in the Astros lineup. Not bad business, if you ask me. At first base, we've got Alex Kirilloff, $3,100. Mostly just a play against Corbin Burnes, who will be extremely popular. The Twins' former top prospect does have an 8-game hitting streak, so he is managing to get on base a little bit. The only downside here is that only one of those hits has gone for extra bases, and he's only got 3 RBI in that span, as he is sinking down the prospect rankings, I looked up where he was batting in the Twins lineup and I forgot to write it down. So let's just go double check. Batting sixth here, so not bad. I mean, or fifth. He's batted fifth in the last 2 games against righties, but it's sometimes fifth, sometimes sixth here. So Kirilloff can be that guy, but I don't know if we can go chasing a home run with him on Wednesday afternoon. At second base, we've got Colton Wong, so going on the other side of the diamond here, 3,900. He's facing Chris Archer. Archer just gives up so many walks that Wong is probably going to get on base. He's probably going to score a run. He's batting fifth against right-handed pitchers. So there's probably going to be some RBI opportunities ahead of him as well, with Christian Yelich, Rowdy Tellez, Willy Adames, all those good guys hitting ahead of him in the Brewers lineup. The Brewers have a 3-game lead in the NL Central. It's just over the halfway point, so it's a little early to be caring about that kind of stuff. But I think the Brewers should make light work of Chris Archer and get to that bullpen. Third base was a little tricky to find, so I'm just going to gloss over that a tiny bit here. Josh Smith for the Rangers, but he's going against a fellow lefty in Marco Gonzalez, but he's made some plays in the outfield. Jose Miranda, but I don't know how many Twins we want to go against with Corbin Burns. I guess if you're building a contrarian lineup, you could definitely go Miranda and Kirilloff, because over Miranda's last 10 games, he's got a 1036 OPS. So not too shabby at all. At shortstop, I did not find a value here, but I did go with Jeremy Pena for the Astros. He's a righty hitting a lefty today. He's got 3 extra base hits over his last 3 games, and he is locked into that 2-hole right now with Michael Brantley sitting with a continued shoulder injury. So batting between Altuve, Alvarez, Tucker, Bregman, not a bad spot at all for the rookie shortstop. And at outfield, we go with Eloy Jimenez, $4,300 in Coors. Probably not going to beat that today. He's got home runs in back-to-back games, and once again, playing in the Mile High City. Whew. So a couple of values there, some not too value guys with Pena and Eloy, but there's definitely plenty of bats around to build a solid lineup and still get a couple of these pitching aces in for your Wednesday afternoon DFS slates. Just looking at the implied runs leaders here, so we've got Chicago and Colorado. They got implied run total of 6.8. Antonio Senzatella with a 5.78 expected ERA this year, so you feel pretty good about some White Sox bats. Dodgers at 5.8 runs against the Nationals. Patrick Corbin with a 6.02 ERA, and he's giving up 15.9% home run to fly ball rate. So yeah, get those Dodgers righties in there. Rockies on the other side of that White Sox matchup. Giolito's given up 41.2% hard hit rate this year, and just playing in Colorado, it's good to be that high up. Charlie Blackmon's at 5,200, so that's kind of a tough sell there. He has been good. He's got 15 home runs of the year, but $5,200 is kind of pricey for someone that is pretty home runny or bust at times. So I might avoid him a little bit there. Connor Joe is day to day, so you got to watch that. He's not again. He was out of the lineup yesterday, but he was available off the bench, but he did not come into the game. Next up, we got the Royals versus Angels. I did not even talk about that game one bit. Not super interested in anything going on there. But they are facing a pitcher called Jansen Junk. He's got a 5.66 xFIP in AAA this season with only 40 Ks in 48 2/3 innings. So if you want to just have an unpopular team in your lineup with the Royals, you can definitely attack the value that way. And then the final team here is Milwaukee, 4.8 runs against Chris Archer. He just can't stop walking people. He's got an 11% walk rate on the year. He allows tons of barrels and tons of hard contact. So yeah, quick and easy podcast today with MLB DFS. Always fun to talk some baseball as fantasy football season starts to crank up a little bit. Fantasy Premier League season is coming up. The F1 season is entering its summer break. So I'll definitely be getting some more DFS podcasts out. A little rushed this morning with the schedule, so I'll try to get more in depth with the value bats and the pitching as we move throughout the summer. So you can follow me on Twitter at @UInOrYouOut. This is where I'll tweet all my links, where I write for Rotoballer, write about a ton of sports for that website. Love writing there. You can follow me on Twitter at @UInOrYouOut, which is at EUAN or you out. You can like and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Overcast. I think it's on there now too. So all those fun spots. Good luck building all your DFS lineups today. This was for the 2:40 p.m. Eastern contest, not the nighttime contest. So please remember that when building your lineups. And thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time.